So my name is Max Newmeyer. I'm with Helen, half of Ground Up Consulting. We've been working with the Department of Agriculture for a few years now to design this program and to apply for the grants that are funding it. I'm gonna, oh, was there a question?
Can I talk now?
Oh yeah.
Good morning, can you hear?
Go for it. Well, maybe there was some background noise. I wasn't sure if that was a question or not. Why don't we save questions for a few more minutes until I go over the program structure and calendar, and then we can hear from you all if there's questions. So I'm just going to take us through the calendar for the upcoming year, so you can better understand how all these pieces fit together, and then talk a little bit about the org chart. So you understand who all is involved in this project and how they all fit together. Let's start with the calendar, or calendar is here. So we are in January. Can you all see my screen all right? Yes. We're here in January. Right now, you should have brought today a list of the producers that you're going to be working with. I know there's been some questions about when that is due, but hopefully most districts have made, and eligible entities have made some good progress in selecting the producers that they're going to be working with, and hopefully all producers that you're going to be working with are going to be identified by the end of the month. In January, we also have our training today, and in January and February, this is when conservation districts and eligible entities will contract with Colorado Department of Agriculture so that you can receive that initial $20,000 in capacity support. And some districts will receive an extra $2,000 for covering another district. So we hope that contracting will be done as soon as possible. CDA needs to contract with the agencies that are administering the grants before CDA can contract with conservation districts and eligible entities. We're still waiting to finish some of those contracts with NRCS, with National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and so forth, but hopefully those contracts will be forthcoming in the very near future. Certainly, we expect contracting to be finished by February. As Nikki described, when those contracts are signed, CDA can then distribute the initial capacity support, which is that $20,000 right away. So that will happen as soon as tomorrow for some districts, and certainly by the end of February we expect to have all that funding out the door to you all. Consultations, we hope, will occur starting at the beginning of February and finishing up by the end of May. We realize people, farmers and ranchers, make decisions early in the year about what practices they're going to be doing that year. And so we'd like these consultations to occur as soon as possible, but we realize that some of them will happen a little bit later in the spring. Ryan's going to be talking in much more detail about what these consultations are going to look like a little bit later today. So consultations will occur from February through the end of May. And when consultations occur, a form is filled out, a consultation form that collects some basic information and helps guide the conversation with the landowner. Those consultation forms need to be turned in to the Department of Ag by emailing them to CDA_soil at that email address. And that will be the queue to distribute the ongoing capacity support of $2,000 per producer. So you turn in your consultation form that shows that you did a consultation with a producer, and you receive $2,000 for that producer, for each producer you work with. So consultations will occur in the spring of this year, and ongoing capacity support will be distributed when those consultation forms are received. A note on both ongoing capacity support payments and the distribution of incentive payments to producers. Those all have a firm deadline of October 1st. because of this is being funded in part by stimulus funds that need to be spent this year. All consultation forms and producer match forms need to be received by the Department of Ag by October 1st. So I described how the ongoing capacity support will be distributed. The incentive payments, these are the $75 per acre incentive payments that producers receive for participating in the program. They have a minimum of $1,000 and a maximum of $5,000. And they need to document a matching contribution equal to what they're receiving. So if a producer puts in $3,000 towards new practices, and that can be gasoline, that can be time, that can be seed, that can be whatever costs are a part of trying out some new practices on a field. If that equals $3,000, then they would receive $3,000 as a incentive payment. If they were to put in $10,000 of their own money towards new practices on that field, they would receive an incentive payment of $5,000 because $5,000 is the maximum. If they were to put in $500 of their time and money into this new practices on a field, they would receive an incentive payment of $1,000 because $1,000 is the minimum payment. There is some examples of this in the grant guidelines, and there is a incentive payment calculator attached to the producer match form to easily calculate what your incentive payment will be. These incentive payments will be distributed when the producer match form is received. So similar to the consultation forms, when a producer match form is filled out and emailed to CDA_soil, then that is the trigger for CDA to distribute the incentive payment to the conservation district, which can then distribute it to the producer. So that's the workflow for that. That will happen between June and October. It could happen earlier. We're expecting those producer match forms to come in a little bit later than those consultation forms. There will be a STAR verification process that will happen in the last quarter of the year. We're still working out the details to that, but a sample, a subset of all the STAR fields will be verified to make sure that the practices that are identified on the STAR scoring sheets and field forms are actually occurring. So stay tuned for more details about that. And then the other parts of this calendar are the research pieces of this. Soil sampling, both for STAR and for STAR Plus, are going to occur between May and September. This is so that the ground can thaw and we can have a standardized time to collect soil samples for this program. And we'll be providing much more detail and instruction on soil sampling when we have our in-person trainings later this spring. But soil sampling will happen both for the STAR fields. That's the anybody who'd like to fill out a STAR scoring sheet through the website and receive a free soil health test. We have 100 free soil health tests available. That's just STAR. And then that's also happening for STAR Plus. STAR Plus is all the producers taking part in the program that are receiving incentive payments, who are receiving a consultation from you all, who are receiving some technical assistance that Ryan is going to talk about later today. That's STAR Plus. Other pieces of the research program include installing soil moisture probes. These will be installed on the research focused fields through the CPP districts. If your CPP district, one of your fields, one of your participants will be a research focused field, and that field will have soil moisture probes installed on it. And then if you are a SIG district, all the fields in the SIG districts will have soil moisture probes installed as well. And more details and will be forthcoming about the soil moisture probes at a future date. Section 319 research fields will have edge of field water quality equipment installed in them sometime over that period. And then our partners at Colorado State University will be analyzing water and soil samples between March and the end of the year. So this is the calendar of what's coming up this year. Maybe I'll pause there and see if there's any questions, and then we'll go over the org chart. Any questions?
Yeah, Max, there were some questions in the chat about the equipment grants. So if you could go over that, I think everybody would be happy.
Great. Equipment grants.
I can read it for you, Max. It's on the equipment grant. Does the district get the $25,000, or is that for each producer that applies?
A total of $25,000, and it could be used entirely by the district. It could be distributed entirely to the STAR Plus participants, or it could be distributed in part to STAR Plus participants, or used in part by the district. So that's up to the district to decide how that money is going to be spent.
Great. Another question is, what is the difference between STAR and STAR Plus?
Great. I think I addressed that a little bit, but this is fundamental and I think would be helpful to just say it again. So STAR is available to all producers in the state. They can go on the CDA Soil Health website. Helen will show us how to do that a little bit later today. They can fill out a field form and get it scored by the department and receive a 1 through 5 star rating based on their practices or their processes, depending if they're cropland or rangeland. And that they get a star field sign, and they get a sense of how they're doing with soil health. That's STAR. STAR Plus is what we're here today to talk about. It comes with incentive payments of $75 per acre. It involves a consultation with you all and some technical assistance over the next 3 years, is quite a bit more robust and is the way we're able to provide capacity support to the conservation districts. So hopefully that helps clarify the difference between STAR and STAR Plus.
And one other kind of combination question, is CDA covering the cost of the soil test and the shipping of the samples?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to move on from the calendar to the org chart. Eva, thank you for joining us. We're going to have you join we're going to go through this section first and then have you start up maybe at around 10:15. I hope that works for you. So this is the org chart for the federal SIG project, but also really for the whole STAR Plus program. It begins and ends here with Cindy Lair, who is overseeing the whole program. And reporting to Cindy is Ryan Taylor, Helen and myself. We're Ground Up Consulting, Nikki Brinson, and a to-be-hired grant administrator, as well as Jim Ippolito and Megan McMuller from CSU. Ryan Taylor is the program coordinator. His responsibilities include project management, project evaluation, and a whole lot of other things, coordinating with you all, overseeing the technical assistance providers and the soil health specialists, training and project evaluation. Ryan is going to be working with what we're calling technical assistance providers, as well as some soil health specialists that CDA hopes to hire this coming year. And these technical assistance providers will be assigned to districts to assist with technical assistance with the STAR Plus participants. They'll also help with the soil sampling and the installation of soil moisture probes. So these technical assistants will provide some more information about these technical assistance providers a little bit later today and how that part of the program is going to work. There will be a grazing lands technical assistance provider and a cropland technical assistance provider for each district. These TAPs and soil health specialists are going to work with conservation district and eligible entities staff to run the program, which involves doing these consultations, collecting environmental and financial outcome data. Financial outcome data is only relevant to the federal SIG districts, and we're going to cover that in more detail in a breakout room at the end of the day. Tasks include collecting those soil samples, collecting management information, installing soil moisture probes if relevant, performing those initial and final consultations, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and hosting a field day and distributing incentive payments. So you're going to be interfacing with these technical assistance providers, these soil health specialists, and with Ryan Taylor to achieve those tasks. Helen and myself are project managers for this project. We're coordinating team meetings and we're assisting with project evaluation. Nikki Brinson is in charge of grant administration. She's going to be the point person for contracting with conservation districts for distributing capacity support payments and incentive payments. And Dr. Jim Ippolito and Megan McMoller are running the research part of this program. Their tasks include, along with some others, installing soil moisture probes, synthesizing environmental outcome data, and some deliverables as well. Helen and I are overseeing these other partners on this grant. I'm going to take these in a different order. The CSU Center for Science and Communication is going to be developing some 3 documentary films about the STAR program, 2 of which are going to be focused on producers and who might be interested in participating in STAR or STAR Plus in the future, as well as some other media to communicate this program to the public and to other future participants. Acres USA is going to be doing event production. We're going to have 4 large events over the three years, and are going to be developing a community forum on a website where participants can interact with one another. They're also going to be developing 12 soil health primers that will be educational materials for participants. The CSU Extension Agricultural Business Management team is going to be assisting with economic analysis. They're going to develop a partial budget analysis form and train conservation districts on the federal SIG project to collect financial outcome data, which is a requirement of this grant. So that's only relevant to SIG districts. And then finally, Dr. James Hale is a sociologist. He is going to run some focus groups and some surveys with some participants to meet the requirements of the grant around sociological outcomes. That's a brief overview of the partners on this grant. I'm going to let them now introduce themselves. We're going to show a video that's about half an hour long of each of these partners introducing themselves. And then we'll turn it over to Eva for the next interactive part of this program. So bear with me for a moment while I queue up this video so that you can get to know each of the different partners on this grant. And I just want to thank everyone again for being here today. It's really exciting to see so many great scientists and communication experts and all sorts of other folks working together on this project. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy to introduce herself and the Colorado Department of Agriculture team. Cindy?
Thank you, Max. Welcome to our introductory Conservation Innovation Grant Partners meeting. I'm Cindy Lair, and I'm the manager of the Colorado State Conservation Board and the Soil Health Initiative. We really appreciate your participation and the expertise you have and that you're going to be putting towards helping farmers and ranchers build their soil function and resilience. I'm going to introduce our CDEA contributors, and I'm going to start with Ryan Taylor. Ryan is the Soil Health Program Coordinator, and he's very active in all aspects of implementing the Soil Health Program, and particularly he's quite the expert on STAR. I'd also like to introduce Nikki Brinson, and she is our District Operations Manager. Nikki is managing the contracting side of the soil health programs and will eventually oversee our soil health grant specialist who cannot get here soon enough. For now, she's managing our grant contracts as they come in from the granting agencies, and she's also overseeing the mechanics of contracting with the participating conservation districts and our CIG partners, as well as our eligible entities that are delivering the program. So I'm going to conclude with that, but I'm going to turn it back over to you, Max.
Great. And there's one more player in all this that needs to be introduced. That's Helen Silver. Helen is my business partner and is going to be helping coordinate this project with all of you. So I'm sure most of you know Helen already, but really glad to be working with her. So with that, we're going to start these partner introductions. As a reminder, we're asking that each group spend no more than 6 or 7 minutes, less is fine, to introduce yourself personally, give a high-level description of how you're going to be contributing to this project, and highlight any key dates that others should know about that are coming up this coming year. And we realize that some details are in flux, and you might not be ready to explain exactly what's going to happen this coming year. But if there's anything that others should know about coming up in the next few months, please spend a moment to let us know about that. Thank you to the CSU Department of Crop Sciences for kicking this off. They were the first partner in all of this, and so I think it's fitting that Jim and Megan start us off. Go ahead, Jim and Megan.
Go ahead, Megan.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I think I know most of you, but I'm Megan Mockmuller, and I'm a research scientist in the Soil and Crop Sciences Department. And Jim and I will be, I'll let Jim introduce himself, but we'll be leading the soil sampling, soil health analyses, and partner with the soil moisture sensor team and deploy soil moisture sensors across hundreds of fields. Jim, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then maybe we can get everyone else in our department.
Awesome, thanks, Megan. So I'm Jim Ippolito. I'm a professor of soil fertility, soil health in the Department of Soil and Crop Sciences at Colorado State University. I've been working in soil health for 30 years. Before it was called soil health, it was called environmental soil quality, and that's where I started. I cut my teeth, started in 1991. Focused on soil physical, chemical, and biological attributes and how those change over time within agroecosystems. And I'm really happy to be a part of this project and other projects that I get to play with Max and Megan and Helen and others. And I'll leave it at that. Why don't I pass it off to, there's 2 other people from the department. I see Jay Ham and Ian Axland. One of you 2?
Sure. This is Jay Ham, also a professor in soil and crop sciences at CSU. My area of study is micrometeorology, but our team is leading the soil moisture measurement aspects of the project. So you come up to our labs, they look a little bit more like electrical engineering labs instead of soils labs. And that's because we're developing sensors for soils and connecting those to the internet using Internet of Things. So this will be Internet of Things soil health. So it'll be really exciting. And one of my key partners on that is my graduate student and going to be research associate, Ian Axland. Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Ian Axland. Hello, everyone. A little bit about me. I spent a couple years of my early college career at CU Boulder Engineering, kind of bouncing around from department to department there, eventually kind of finding my way here to Soil and Crop Sciences at CSU. And then graduating with my undergrad degree there with applied information technology. And then I'm pursuing, or went right into my master's degree, and I'm pursuing that and hoping to finish that here very shortly, like Jay mentioned. And so, yeah, we're excited. We work a lot with sensors, obviously, but also connecting them to the internet and IoT and things of that nature. And so kind of our role from like a high level, I guess, is to kind of help facilitate training of the sensors, and then also obviously, creating and delivering the systems as well as the soil moisture and temperature sensors themselves.
Great. I should also mention that Jim, Megan, and Ian and Jay are also involved in 2 other grant-funded projects, Section 319 project and a Conservation Partners Program / CWCB Water Plan grant-funded project. Jim and Megan, would you mind saying just a few words about the research focus fields and what's going to be going on those?
I can throw a few words together. Ryan Taylor and I just got off a call with a producer down in Prowers County. What we're doing is, this is going to be real rough, Max. So what we're doing is we're pairing research focus fields across the state to essentially quantify soil health in systems that are, I'll call them business as usual in terms of management practice versus management practices that we think would promote soil health. So the 5 principles promoted by the NRCS are sort of what we're looking for in these research focused fields. These fields will be outfitted with soil moisture sensors that Jay and Ian and their team will be developing. And I saw in the chat that we want to mention Argos satellite system that Jay has been instrumental in connecting these in-field soil moisture sensors to. I'll speak for Jay. So this is really cool technology that these sensors will be deployed in locations that you really don't need a cell phone signal because they connect directly to this satellite system. This satellite system, from what Jay's told me, is a satellite system that's used to track animals like whales in the ocean and their movement. And we now have access to that system thanks to Dr. Ham. It's going to be incredible. You'll be able to have real-time soil moisture data on any producer's field where these sensors are located. So the premise behind our work is to promote soil health promoting practices that are essentially promoted through the NRCS, but will be also promoted through the CDA and CSU. And with the help or with the hopes that these promotion practices enhance soil water, which enhances, soil microbiology and nutrient cycling and turnover. And I could go on, but enhances soil health.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, do you want to add anything?
Just maybe the fact that, these research focus fields will include a more intense sampling regime. And so we'll take multiple samples to really be able to try to detect the differences between these management practices. But then, in this grant, we're adding, close to 100 other fields that will be outfitted with soil moisture sensors. And we'll take soil samples, but just not as many as we are in the research focus fields. So this particular grant really expands our geographic range and probably practices too that we can encompass. And ultimately with, in this grant and the other grants that we're working on, it will allow us to build a soil health inventory for the state, ultimately to hopefully be able to better determine what is soil health, what are the most sensitive metrics, and then, take that information back to the field scale and, ultimately be of help to guide management on the ground to really enhance, soil health. And, that may look different depending on where you are in the state or what sort of cropping system or whether you're pasture or range. And so that, just kind of, to give you a broad level overview of what we're trying to achieve.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We're going to move on now to the CSU Center for Science Communication. Jamie Jacobson, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Max, for introducing yourselves. I thought I might share a couple slides that I put together just about our center. So I'm going to go and navigate to a PowerPoint really quick. with some imagery. I hope everyone can see that. And let me just screen share. Hold on one sec. There we go. Okay, so we are the Center for Science Communication at Colorado State. And just a little bit about our center. We're a department-based center, and we are housed in journalism and media communication. So essentially, we are made up of a group of faculty, students, and staff that really specialize in communicating science. Going to go back here. I wanted to just introduce a couple members of our team that are on the call today and give them a chance to introduce themselves that are going to be playing a key role in this project. So as Max mentioned, I'm Jamie Jacobson. My training is in documentary film work, specifically science documentary storytelling, and I direct our center here at CSU. We also have Field Peterson. Field, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Field. I'm a second-year master's student in the journalism department. I've been working with the CSC for about a year now. Started doing some strategic communications for the center itself, and then worked on some marketing, but overall just external communications for the center. And I'm going to be doing more strategic comms work here, and then helping with the kind of the external side of the documentary work and transmedia development too. So thanks.
And we also have Ria Mays that's joining us as a key member of our team. Ria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ria Mays. I work here at CSU in some different capacities in communications as a writer for the Biomedical Sciences Department. I also do freelance science writing and am a part-time graduate student in the journalism department, working with Jamie and Field and others for the center, executing different writing projects. So I will be helping with this project to write the scripts for the videos and other materials that go on the website, and I'm excited to be here.
So I'll reference a little bit about specifically what we'll be doing for the SIG, which Field and Ria mentioned in their introductions. I do have a brief slide here that just tells a little bit more about the center, and then I'll explain how that maps onto this project. But really, we focus on interdisciplinary stakeholder engaged scholarship as a center. And our mission as a whole is to foster communication outcomes that are in pursuit of socially sustainable agricultural, environmental, and health systems. So I think that really networks very well with this project. And our work includes everything from research to teaching, science communication, media production, which is a key part of our role in this project, mentoring, training, and community outreach work, which is also going to play a big factor here. So specifically for the Conservation Innovation Grant, the CSC has joined this project really with the goal of developing a strategic communications plan around this effort surrounding the STAR program and soil health, and engaging stakeholders throughout the state of Colorado, and hopefully even beyond in this larger issue that is affecting us all. So one of the very first tasks, just in terms of 2022, will really be identifying key goals for the strategic communications plan. How are we going to reach community members, producers, ranchers, general public, and policymakers, and outlining that process. So that's really just at the forefront of our to-do list when we launch this project. We're also going to be building an innovative website, which will be a landing page basically for everyone to come and to engage with this project in a transmedia way. And by that, I mean all sorts of media, whether it's video, photo, text, audio. Part of that website will really be devoted to producing 3 short documentary films. So that's really the heart of our work, and that they will be able to be found online for people to engage with. And they'll be directed at different audiences that we want to really engage with soil health in the STAR program. So currently we've identified producers as our top priority, those who are engaged in large scale production, agricultural producers, and also ranchers. So those are the key demographics that we see sculpting documentary stories to connect with. as well as the general public and policymakers. And one reason I think that we landed on documentary storytelling as a vehicle for communication and engagement is the idea of looking for community influencers in the different conservation districts that we're working with, who are already engaged in new management practices, who might serve as models to inspire others to engage in this project. So we're looking for, another thing that's really at the top of our list is just to be finding those compelling stories and really interesting people across the state that we'd like to go out and interview and film and profile and then share their work on a more broader scale. So I think that's really it in a nutshell. We will also be doing some social media outreach as a way to connect with audiences and really connect them to the actual media that we're developing. So it is a long-term effort. I think the project is slated to run over a couple of years. So filmmaking is very labor intensive and time consuming. So it will take us some time to develop the documentary short films themselves. But while we're in production, we plan to be engaging audiences through our social media channels and platforms, so that they'll be engaged in the project while it's underway. Jim, is that hand for me? Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, I have a question for you. So this is more internal to CSU, but
I'm just fast forwarding through a quick discussion that occurred, and then we'll hit play with the next partner. Hopefully you're enjoying this, getting to know some of the partners we're working with. Great, and thank you, Jamie. I just want to remind people in the chat is all of your contact info, and we'd encourage all of you to reach out to each other if there's ideas that come up in how you might collaborate. For time's sake, we're going to move on to the CSU Extension Agricultural Business Management team. Go ahead, Brent, Jeffrey, and Jenny.
Thanks, Max. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Brent Young. I'm a regional extension specialist. My office is in Sterling, Colorado, and I'm a member of the Ag Business and Management team. I'll let my colleague Jeff and Jenny introduce themselves in just a minute. Briefly, our contribution to the project will be to provide training for the soil conservation districts and other partners to assist farmer rancher participants in developing partial budgets as a way to do a financial analysis of the soil health practices that they plan to implement as part of the grant project. We'll also help the districts and partners monitor the producers throughout the study, helping them collect financial data so that we'll be able to develop some rather extensive case studies toward the end of the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff and have Jeff introduce himself.
Thanks, Brent. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better and we're able to get on. Anyway, I am Jeff Turnell, agricultural and business management economist with CSU. I have an extension appointment and I am have a joint appointment with the Department of Ag and Resource Economics on campus, as do Brent and Jenny. I've been around for a long time. I'm probably the old guy on the team, but with that brings a lot of wisdom and experience. So Jenny, I will let you share something about yourself.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm Jenny Byerman, also an ABM economist with CSU Extension. I'm located in Grand Junction, so Brent and Jeff and I are all located throughout the state. So we'll be responsible for working a little more closely with some of those conservation districts within our regions.
Okay, well, thank you, Brent, Jenny, and Jeff. Acres USA, would you like to introduce yourselves and explain your part of the project?
Would love to, and thank you for the opportunity. It's quite a group we have here, so it's an honor to be here, and hope everybody having a good Friday. My name is Ryan Slaybaugh. I'm the general manager. We're Acres USA. We'll be supporting the education component of the soil health program. We're based in Greeley. We were founded in 1971 as a soil health media company and publishing company. We have expanded that in the recent years and do all sorts of different things, including events and those types of things. And Lydia Lazar will be going into kind of how we'll be supporting the program. Overall, we moved to Colorado in 2016, and one of the reasons we moved here was we really loved the intersection of agriculture and conservation that was going on even at the time. And boy, it's been a great fit. And just looking at this group and what we're doing today and what we're talking about, Colorado gets stuff done, and we're proud to be a part of it. So Lydia, do you want to talk about how we're going to support the program?
My pleasure. Hi, everyone. I'm Lydia Lazar, and I'm working with Ryan and the team at Acres to deliver the educational materials that the program will be providing to the participants. And that consists of soil health primers or primers. We kind of go back and forth on how we say that. I'm going to say primers. And we're going to be designing those and providing those pretty quickly so that you'll have those as resources to share with the participants later this year. We'll also be responsible for delivering events on farm field days. The project, as you know, calls for 4 of those, and the first one is scheduled for October. And Acres has the capacity to deliver those events, including providing the registration capacity and staffing day of event production and other services on the farms themselves. Finally, as part of our service in this grant, we'll be developing a website, a landing page, and that will be the home for these primers, as well as for forums, if you will, that will be discussion boards associated with this educational material that all the participants in the program will have access to. And we will also be using that web page as the event management system. So farmers and producers who will want to sign up for the events will do so at that web page. So those are pretty much the 3 big buckets that Acres is responsible for, and I will be the point person for Acres. A little bit about me: I've had quite a varied career, but early in my career, I did do a graduate degree in hydrology. So I do have a pretty good idea of what we're talking about, although it's kind of old knowledge, and I've learned a lot of other things in the interim. So I'm happy to be beefing back up on an early passion. Back to you, Max. Happy to take questions later.
Great, thank you so much. CSU Department of Sociology, you're up.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Hale. I've got some slides here I'll pull up. So yeah, my name is James Hale. I'm a postdoc in sociology. I actually graduated from the sociology department at CSU and have been working in Colorado for around 15 years on different food system stuff, whether it be urban ag or working with farmers. I'm mostly studying the social and cultural dimensions of this work. And Adam Snickers on the call. I thought he could introduce himself right now if you're there, Adam.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a first-year PhD student, just finished the first semester, and I'll be just supporting the project with James and working with him and Dr. Caroline as well.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so Michael is a professor in sociology and associate dean of research and faculty developments, and he couldn't be here today. But wishes he could be, and you all will hopefully be able to meet him in the future. So our primary role is really to develop information about the social dimensions of participating producers, and especially those around like why they adopt and the challenges and benefits to adopting. And so we'll be looking at the impact on producer communities, observe through on-farm field days and other activities that we'll be doing. And we'll also be providing some support to the documentary team, which Jamie and I have already met to chat about some of that stuff, and we look forward to doing that. Our approach is going to be looking at things like community readiness and social relationships, motivations for adoption, barriers and opportunities to improving soil health and program sustainability and trade-offs. And we will examine this stuff through things like focus groups and interviews and participant observation and some secondary data collection. And most of the data collection will happen in the first and the third year, just to see how experiences change over time. And we're actually hoping to get started with this work. Adam and I have already been chatting about it as soon as possible to do the first round, so we can sort of see what it's like at the beginning of the program for some of the participants. And I should also say that we're going to actually engage some people that aren't participants to see about their perceptions of the program and what some of the perceived challenges and barriers to them getting involved would be, so that we can get a broader understanding within these communities around how they might engage with the STAR program. And a lot of the times in the past, we're still working out the way we might approach this, but one way that we typically have done this in the past is looking at various different types of assets or capitals and talking to producers and asking them about them, sort of framing questions around these different resources, and then also doing some of that in our analysis to understand these things like community readiness or barriers and opportunities that folks might be experiencing to participate in something like the STAR program, or just improving soil quality in general. This framework it's often used by rural sociologists and economists to study things like community development, and it also can be helpful to working And lastly, I'll just say we're chatting through how to do our sort of sampling right now, and we're thinking of doing 3 conservation districts or case studies. So concentrating our interviews at least on 3 cases that we can compare that sort of represent various sort of like asset levels of those different things I just showed. And so right now we're thinking about
so at this point, veered off into another discussion, and so we're gonna stop here. Hopefully, this was a good use of time in getting to know some of the other partners that are working on this project. As you can see, there's a lot of different partners contributing across all different types of domains and departments. So I'd love to pause here again and see if there's any questions about the different partners on this grant.
Max, this is Patrick O'Neill. For the soil moisture sensors, are these going to be shipped out to the different participants, and then we've got to sort out what to do with them, or is someone actually coming to our sites and installing sensors, or what's the current on that?
Great question. That is something we're still figuring out, to be quite honest with you. What we do know is that we're going to be doing it in rounds. We're going to start off with some first round. That's just going to be a few soil moisture probes, see how those go. Then we're going to try the CPP districts, and then we're going to do the SIG districts after that. So this is those details still need to be worked out. The technical assistance providers, which are going to be a critical piece of this, as well as the soil health specialists, are really going to help with the installation of those. To the extent that conservation districts and eligible entities are installing soil moisture probes, they will be trained on how to do so at a later date. So I'm sorry, Patrick, I can't give you a really firm answer on how that's going to happen, but it's something we're working on right now, and getting those installed across STAR Plus fields is something that's going to take several months, and something we're hoping to finish by the end of the year, not in the next month or so. So I punted a little bit, but hopefully that's helpful. Vanessa?
If we have a research field identified, or if our district is identified as having research fields, would we know that? I'm just a little confused on to where we fall into the research field.
Yes, you would know
Situation.
that. You would know that by now. We're also going to go over the research focused fields in those breakout rooms at the end of the day. But why don't you and I connect about this offline, and I can help you understand it a little bit better.
But Max, just following up that the answer to Vanessa's question is any conservation district that has a research focused field has already been notified of that or will be notified very soon. Could you clarify that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Vanessa, if I didn't answer your question. We'll just go through them. Routt County, West Otero, and have research focused fields. There's some existing research focused fields in the Longmont area. Ryan, jump in if I'm getting any of these details wrong. And then the 4 CPP districts, which are Burlington, Sedgwick, Haxton, and Northeast Prowers, all have research focused fields. We're trying to add a research focused field to Chavano. We haven't been able to do that quite yet. And there's no research focused fields on any of the federal SIG districts. Those districts have soil moisture probes, but not researched. They aren't research focused fields. Does that help?
Yes, I guess there was just early discussion about section 319 recipients having research fields. So I guess that's not the case. And I'm sorry, I'm just confused on that part, but we can discuss it later.
Yes. Some section 319 ones have research focused fields. Not all of them do at this point.
And we are trying to help we have been going behind the scenes and trying to find research focused fields for the CPP districts who are having trouble finding research focused fields.
Okay. With that,